great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to another day of Almost Daily Meditations. A very cold morning for sure. I think it's 23 degrees outside. Asher's headed to marching band this morning, bright and early. He leaves about 6:15, 6:20 in the morning to head to school, and it was going to be a cold one, so he wasn't sure if they were going to be outside today. On Monday they were, but they will practice, I'm sure, for a little bit outside, and they're marching. They have a competition this weekend, so have fun. When I was in college, I was a psychology major. You might not have known that. I was also a music major for a time, but I ended with a degree in psychology. And one of the classes that I took involved things like perception. So we would work on how we saw things, stuff like that. And one of the things the professor would like to do is to share little quizzes and tests and things like that to get us thinking about perception and what we see and don't see and how we observe things. And one of the exercises, which is always one of my favorite things when I was a kid too, was we would get pictures and you have to find the thing that was different. You know what I mean? So they give you pictures, there'd be two pictures next to each other, and then you'd have to find the 5 things that were changed. And sometimes they're super easy, like someone doesn't have a shoe on them, or and then they get harder and harder. And one time as a test, the guy gave us 2 pictures and said there were, he said there was 8 changes or something like that. And then actually there was no changes whatsoever. And the whole point of it was that you would perceive the changes because he, as an authority professor, person standing in the room, told us there was going to be changes. And then we would decide in our mind that we would see changes. And so we spent like 5 to 7 minutes. People were, saying, oh, this is different. And everyone's arguing about it because they're not seeing it. But we were all needing to find the change because this person told us that there would be a change. And that was the whole point of the exercise. Part of what I was thinking about that was sometimes, we don't question anything like that. Like we don't ask a hard question of somebody or authority or people who are offering things to us. We just sort of go along because somebody told us that we should. And part of the professor's point was not to trick us. I mean, it was a little bit to trick us, but it was to show how much were we paying attention and how much were we asking the question and how much were we observing. Because good observation would have told us that there is a possibility that there was no changes in the picture, but we didn't necessarily do that. Part of what I think this has to do with our spiritual life is we are passing through this world that we're in. We're given gifts, of intellect, of being able to think, to perceive. We're in community. And part of, I think, the hard spiritual task is for all of us to pay attention, right? To pay attention to what's happening around us, to pay attention to others, to be willing to be in the moment. Mary Oliver, in one of her poems, writes, to pay attention, this is our endless and proper work. That this idea of paying attention to what it is, it's sort of an intentional way of living in our life and to be that present. One of the things I took from doing those exercises was how intently all of us in the room were really focused and paying attention and looking, and doing these really engaging exercises about what we're doing. And I know that in my own life, when I'm really paying attention, really looking, really diving in, and really, really able to be focused and present, it changes so many things in my relationships and the information that I'm taking in my spiritual path, whatever it might be. So maybe something to think about is, how are you paying attention to God? How are you paying attention to what's around you? How are you paying attention to the suffering of the world? And of course, the next question is, what are you going to do about it? And how are you going to reach out? How are you going to live your faith in those moments? But how are you going to pay attention today? And how is that your endless and proper work? God bless. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
my strength and shield. Be thou still my strength and shield. When I tread the verge of Jordan, bid my anxious fears subside. Death of death and hell's destruction, let me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises, I will ever give to thee. I will ever give to thee. All right.